Hey, greetings, Dr. Jeffrey Scott here. This is my Market MRI Pro update for Wednesday, July 30th, 2025. Well, it was narrow gains today, but before Powell spoke, I was up shockingly high. Of course, it was the things that sold off yesterday, the ACLO, the LEU, and a few others. Um, but he spoke, the market sold off. It rallied a little bit for me at the end. And after hours, we had blockbuster earnings from Microsoft and um, and others. Um, Meta being the other, I guess, major constituent. And these were such blockbuster. Let me just give you some numbers. And as well, after hours, apparently South Korea, which thinks Samsung, um, LG, among others, signed a deal with the U.S. or agreed to a deal on trade. So maybe that'll buy us another pop. But here's some of the crazy moves. Impinji up 19.5%. Carvana up 17%. Meta up 11.5% on earnings. eBay up 9.6. FFIV 9.4. Microsoft up 8.5%. Um, and then some losers. ALGN down 36%, CFLT down 26, and ARM down 8.5, and Qualcomm down 6.2. Wow. You beat, you guide higher, you get major rewards. You miss, you're killed. Should be a really interesting day in the markets. A-Lab was up after hours as well. Should be an interesting day in the markets. Right now, the Nasdaq's up about 247, but the Russell's down 12. Mini Dow's up 88 and the S&P's up 47. So will we get an all-time high in the diamonds tomorrow? We could. Um, so the question is, will that big tech continue? We got Amazon coming up, Apple and others, and will that be enough to keep away the bears? We shall see. My email address, marketmripro@gmail.com. My Google group is Top Down Trader. Let's get this going. This is for educational purposes only. Anything I should talk about or mention should be considered the spirit of education and not investment advice. The intent of the video is to demonstrate the tools of top-down analysis and how I apply them. Trading involves risk. You alone are solely responsible for any decisions you make. I may own or intend to buy or sell any stock I mention. Trading stocks and options should be considered risky. You should consult with your financial advisor before making trades. I have tools for multiple platforms. I am independent. We're going to look at Market MRI Pro tonight, as usual during the week. Soon to be launching my app in Metastock. That's exciting. I'm in Wealth Charts, and I've got some packages for TradingView and TradeStation. I trade the same regardless of platform. Some of the platforms have some mildly different capabilities. My Google group, I started this a little while ago. It's called Top Down Trader. The intent of this is to give me a group for any invites to live meetings. I give you discounts on my software. I do occasional web-based presentations for this group that I don't offer on YouTube. And we got some dialogue. So I'd love to have you join. Just go to Google Groups, sign in with your Google ID, go to all groups, look for Top Down Trader, and then let me know how often and how you want to be contacted. Hoping to get some more of you to sign up if you like these videos, if you like the teaching I do for free. Wait to see what I do for a paid event. October 27th and 28th in lovely Palm Beach Gardens. We're going to go at the full service Marriott Hotel. Cost is $1,250. That includes breakfast, lunch, and dinner on Sunday. Dinner will be on Stocks and Docks, my boat. And then Monday, breakfast and lunch before we break. And I'll probably go out to dinner with anybody spending the night if there's a couple of you hanging out Monday night as well. I work my ass off for these 2 days. You're paying money, you deserve to get what you pay for and more. If you like education, and come for 4 days, but go to the John Person seminar first, the 25th and 26th, separate fee, but come for both. contact me at marketmripro@gmail.com for more information. I have a link stuck in the remarks section that you click on, takes you to Stripe, you put in your email address, you pay, and that's your confirmation, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you live. If you look at your news and earnings, this was a busy day. We had jobless claims, employment cost, we had ADP employment, not claims, and GDP, and then we had the FOMC statement. Everybody knew they weren't going to do anything. I think people were hoping for maybe a little more dovish tone from Powell. We're data dependent. There's nothing new there. No one should be surprised. As I mentioned, markets did ease quite a bit during his speech. Thursday, big day. That's when we got the jobless claims, employment cost index, the whole PCE complex. That could be market moving. We know that the Fed looks at that closely, and you wonder if they knew what the results were already, and maybe the results are strong. But we'll see. Could be moving the market. And then we have the U.S. monthly employment report on Friday as well. Don't forget earnings. We went through some of the big movers on Wednesday night. We got CVS, AbbVie, Roblox, and others before the open. And then the biggies afterwards, I think, will be Amazon, Apple, MicroStrategy, now called Strategy, Reddit, and others. So pretty exciting day for Thursday. What a week. It's a judgment call to hold stocks over earnings. It's just bad judgment to not know when your stock's earnings dates are scheduled. E-index, is it ready to roll over? It traded down to the 50 today. A break of 50 that doesn't recover the next day is it. So we'll see what happens over the rest of the week. It really feels like the market is narrowing down to big cap tech and everything else is going down. For more information, for customer support of Market MRI Pro, reach out to Praveen, my coder extraordinaire friend and partner at coding@marketmripro.com. And he's been moving the last week, so hopefully his stuff's out of the boxes and put away, so he'll have more availability. And then if you're interested in ordering Market MRI Pro or for the meeting, just email me at marketmripro@gmail.com, and don't forget my Google group. So I've been doing videos since the turn of the century, which seems like a really long time ago, but actually seems like yesterday. I like the videos I'm doing here because the workflow and the Market MRI Pro is so easy. So let's start here in what we call the daily briefing. And this, like every other window, will update with real-time data whenever you click on the refresh. And the refresh is actually pretty quick. I don't expect it to do anything after hours because it's not trading. You can see the dollar was up only almost 1% at the top of the range. Is that going to be bad for the rally? It could be. Russell, let me just reset this. Next, volatility was up 0.5%. That's not great for the rally. The Qs were the only thing positive, up 0.13, and the spiders were down 0.13, the diamonds 0.39, the Russell 0.5, and Bitcoin also down 0.5%. All the indices finished in the middle of their range. They were all much higher during the session. If you look at what led, utilities, communications, and tech, I think that has a lot to do with communication centers. And I think it's the CEGs of the world that are powering the utilities higher, and anything related to data centers, energy, wiring, chips seems to be what's keeping this market up. New highs minus new lows, getting close to the zero line, still positive. And then really worrisomely, 27% of the S&P 1500 were up, 30% of the NASDAQ, and 25% of the NYSE. So any way you slice it, dice it, it was a weak session in the market, and with the breadth really starting to narrow, like I said, to big cap tech. If we look at the timing brief, let's see if there's been any change. We don't expect a change in the weekly, and the weekly doesn't change until Friday close. On the daily, we saw a change. Now, we're just below the WMA, but on the daily, we went to a sell signal on the Russell, and intraday, we went to a sell signal on the diamonds, but it backed above it, so we're still in a buy. So we are predominantly long, but the fact that one of the four major indexes, and probably the least important since the market cap of the whole Russell is probably not as big as the market cap of the third or fourth largest in the NASDAQ, um, that's the only one that's gone to a sell, but it's got to get your attention up that, maybe we are going to get a little bit of a pullback here. I think the forces are to do that. The issue is whether big cap tech can keep us up. If we look at the US indexes, let's take a deeper look at what I'm talking about. So the spiders, now again, seasonality for the next week or so turns down. We've had a low closed doji according to how John Person teaches, closed below the bottom of the doji. That's a very bearish signal. Naturally, you'd expect to come down and peg the 17-day, which is about 628. It's only 1% below it. The 50 is about 611. This is prior all-time highs, if I remember correctly. Move it up a little bit. So it certainly would not shock me to come back to the 17. And frankly, it wouldn't ruin the rally. It'll hurt for a while to correct down to the 50, which is more like a 4%. So I think we have to be aware that we could pull back here. But again, you saw the futures are doing well. We had some great earnings, but it's not how we trade at 7:45 the night before. It's how we close at 4 o'clock on the next day of trading. The Qs you can see not as bad looking. A doji actually up a little bit, the only one that was up. And again, a pullback to the 17 or the 50 will not destroy this rally. If you heavy leverage or trade options predominantly, it's a big difference. It could certainly make a difference in your portfolio. The diamonds, let's see how close they are to an all-time high. They've been just below it, and I don't think we got to it today. Still, as you can see, we didn't quite make it. We're still in range, sitting on the 17. Would it surprise me to go to the 50, which is about 434 from a close of 446, 12, they're 3-4%. And I don't think that's impossible. Even a trip to the 200 does not mean that this rally is finished. If I look at the Russell, that's the one that's gone to an early daily sell signal. Broke down below the 17. Again, like the others, we've got some negative seasonality coming in. Still likely gets the golden cross here. You can see volume. Hold on a second. You can see volume was a little higher on a down day. Russell, probably the weakest of the bunch, certainly at risk. But again, a pullback into the 215 area, it's only 2 or 3%. And if we don't pull back there, I would be surprised. Will we hold just like it was support here? Will it be resistance? Actually, resistance here, will it be support? That's the plan and the hope. You'd expect if the markets are under pressure, the volatility will go up. And you can see the VIX futures traded all the way up to the 50 and came down. And we're actually down on the session 3%. That doesn't sound like a market that's rolling over. But boy, look at the dollar. Dollar weakness, I think, has been the market's friend. And this was the line I drew that I was going to be concerned, and we're above it. So now there's nothing to stop it until it moves up to the 200. So I think the dollar going up will have impact on a lot of stocks that have overseas buyers. Makes our products more expensive in their local currency. If we look at commodities, gold breaking down as Fed decided to hold. Gold was down 1.73. Silver was down 3.32. Both of them, pretty significant drops. Oil continues to inch higher. Is it concern about the Putin deadline for Ukraine? We shall see. But the oil was creeping up today, was up another 1.5%. Forget natural gas. And both the 10-year and the 30 years rebounded today, but they're still both below the moving averages, up 0.74 and 0.68 on those two. You'd like to see the dollar, I'd like to see the dollar stay where it's at. And I like to see the 10-year and the 30-year stay down and certainly not get above 5% on the 30-year. The buckets clearly show a shift to the left as the number of stocks below the Bollinger Bands is increasing 15% on the NYSE, 16% on the S&P 1500, 14% on the NASDAQ, and 19% on the Russell 2000. When you figure that stocks should be within their Bollinger Bands for 90%, which is two standard deviations of the time, 5% above, 5% below. And when you start to see 19, 20% of the stocks trading below the bands, you're probably getting to a place where you'd expect a rebound. Not sure we're there yet. We'll look at some of the other signals. Market breadth, I've said multiple times, I'm looking for a Hindenburg-Omen, because you don't typically see major corrections or pullbacks without a Hindenburg-Omen. And unless one's popped up on the most recent update, when I looked a few moments ago, we didn't have any, and we don't. Those would be these triangles, upside down triangles, and they are a sign of a potential correction. Doesn't mean we can't pull back, but I just wonder if we don't have a major correction here because of that. If we look at the NYSE on the left, the big NASDAQ composite on the right, we are just off of all-time highs, clearly flagging here, and maybe starting a flag over here with a doji and decision bar. You expect the NASDAQ, certainly the Qs will pop with the big cap tech tomorrow. Here you can see on both of these stocks above the 50 in white, 20 in green, and 200 in red are rolling over. So we're clearly having deteriorating breadth, which you'd expect. Interestingly, the new high, new lows are still positive, but the AD lines are both negative, as are the up-down volume. The other signals that I look at on the market breadth are in this view here. This one you could see. Now, don't be deceived that that's at the bottom. It's 0.57. And in fact, if I add stocks, which is I'm going to do here, you could see that the 13-week new high, new lows are at about the 50% range across the board. Not a signal. You could see the stocks above the moving average rolling over across the board, but not a signal. This is a signal. This is a signal. This is a signal. This is a signal. We're in the middle. We can see the AD lines in magenta are rolling over. Clear divergence on the AD line of the NASDAQ versus the index. And the RSIs are rolling over. So a lot to be concerned about from the perspective of topping. Don't know if we've topped. We might have topped. My guess is if we have good earnings tomorrow, we're going higher. If we look at the ratio charts as they're loading, so my thoughts on the market is I did raise some cash today, as I mentioned, especially early in the day when most of my things were up. Actually finished with a decent session. Again, a lot of those Oklos and Lou and others rebounded. I have Microsoft and I have Meta, but I have them in my long-term account. So tomorrow should be an interesting day for those. But I still think it's okay to be raising cash into whatever rally we get into the end of the month. This is going to be one of the best Julys that I can remember. We'll look and see what the final data is when we get to the end of the month. But wow, got some tough months coming up, and at the same time, the market feels toppy. The king here in the ratio charts, these are each the sectors versus the spider. This is Bitcoin versus the spider. The king is technology, period. You could see industrial, except for maybe Generac gave it up today. Utilities are holding up okay, but communications popped up. But for the most part, it is data centers and technology. If we look at the JAS layout, and I'm going to be kind of short tonight again for the same reasons as last night. I don't want to give you 30 stock picks, that makes sense. But let me revisit something. Let's go right into my favorite scan. Let's look at 2 days Momo up. And let's look at price over 5, volume over 500, hit OK. Alanin Pharmaceuticals, I don't know this company. They're not in oncology. for the most part, biotech and pharma have been weak. It doesn't make any money. It's got some revenue, but not a ton of growth. So that means it's probably a story and it's probably about what's coming. Um, Growing optimism about its earnings prospects, leading RNA therapeutics. Yeah, I don't know enough about this to say anything except if you look at the market, the chart, let's look at a weekly. You're in a beautiful uptrend, but you're clearly getting extended. Let's look at the daily to see what the high jump is at. But in its favor, it had a squeeze, relative strength taken off, OBV taken off, great volume. You had two momentums in a row and that volume. Um, Beautiful looking chart breaking out here. I can't give you any insight into the company because it's one biotech farm I don't know. AV Point, I believe this is in the cybersecurity family. You may see a boost to this whole family with the takeout today of CyberArk. I'd be looking for a break above that line. Had good volume today, breakout, two momentums in a row, relative strength and OBV setting up. This one looks interesting. It's a low cost stock. LNG stocks are potentially helped by the deal that we did with Europe that may encourage some of the LNG exports. This is one of the companies in that space. Let's see, it makes money, but not a lot of growth. Revenue had an aberration here, pretty much. Other than that, it's pretty steady, pays a little dividend. Again, it's got double volume, breakouts and momentums out of a squeeze. Here's what we talked about yesterday. It may still be my favorite. Remember yesterday I said I'd buy it if it traded above the high of the session, and then I gave it a little bit more. And then I looked at it, I said, let's set it at this line where it's failed. Well, it broke out today. I took the trade today. Volume was decent, closed at the high. I think it still looks attractive. Um, I don't buying chickens, and I think that's what Smithfield is. Plus, it's below the 200, so I passed. And then I got a little bit more insight into Gene DX. They are in the hereditary diseases, focusing on kids with really bad diseases and working to help not only identify those patients early, but also working to find targets for cures. Pretty good, compelling story. Um, Stock had a good session, and I think it was. Yeah, she was on CEO talking about rare diagnosis diagnostics. Earnings came out the 29th. Um, and you could see not only 2 days of the momentum, but three. That's pretty interesting to me. So of the bunch, I still like RBRK. And then just to look at the top-down approach and look at the leaders, well, utilities, communications. Let's take technology. Let's look at the top 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's look at by movement today. So this was it. Super Text, don't know them. Big from 11 up to 23, too late. This one must have been up on earnings. TER. Yep, earnings were the 30th, and we can always see what they were here. Um, Not great, but they beat estimates, and I guess the story there is their revenue. If that's real, smashed estimates. Fubo TV. A-Lab is one that I am in. This was a great buying opportunity when it broke out here. Now it's kind of wedging higher. We'll see how long that lasts. Marvell Semiconductors, again, tech is probably going to benefit with these earnings. Oklo, my God, this may be the hardest stock I've ever had to hold on to. It opens up in the morning, up a little higher. Then it trades down. And then just as you're ready to pull the trigger to get out, it closes higher than it, on an up day. It's been an interesting stock to hold. And talk about hard stocks to hold. And I feel bad because I gave this to people at 206. I don't feel bad where the price is, but boy, this one is volatile as it can be, up to 224 in the 2 weeks since we talked about it. What do these all have in common? A lot of these AI, data centers, whether they're power. Oklo is involved in the power side. VST um, is one of the utilities empowering them. CEG is another one. NRG is a nuclear reactor group. Um, GEV, creating electricity, small nuclear reactors, SMR. Do you think there's something to do with this, with powering these data centers? Um, I do, and I'm heavy into them for whatever it's worth. NVIDIA had a great session. Boy, am I glad I got rid of my 180 calls. Closing at 179.27, up 2%. Still got some good seasonality before a little bump here. So there are a lot of things that are moving, but they're tech, and a lot of them have some linkage to data centers. Have an awesome day. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Comments are very, very welcome. I'm always hoping to get better. And a lot of you I never hear from, your lurkers, think about coming to the live meeting. You'll get fed, you'll get great education. Yeah, I do care about food. I don't like meetings where we don't get fed. And more, you'll get to go out on my boat. I guarantee you'll leave a better trader. And if you don't have my tools, you're going to get $400 towards them. Whether you attend live or online, if you join the Google group, you get another 100. And if you buy more than one of my tool sets, you get even more. So lots of reasons to come to sunny Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. Talk to you tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.